Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated with the Buckeye Report from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on what is a little bit more summer than fall in terms of the way it feels today here in central Ohio. A little warmer, a little muggier. It's still definitely the heart of the beginning of football season, and the Buckeyes are taking their Week 2 preparations for Oregon very seriously, knowing this is a huge opportunity to make a great impression with a potential win over a good national opponent. Let's get to a couple of things newsworthy from today. And before we talk about Ryan Day and his press conference, we also heard from Kerry Coombs, Chris Olave, and from Cody Simon. Maybe a note off the top that is specific to you if you are coming to Ohio Stadium to watch the first game of the year here this upcoming weekend. The Buckeyes had a press conference this morning just to kind of rehash some of the things that fans are going to experience in their first trip to Columbus this year. They want to remind everybody to try to come as early as you possibly can. There is some construction on campus. With the fact that, the season is back, it's the first home game, things are going to be a little chaotic. There are still 10,000 tickets remaining as of this morning, so if you are interested in coming to the game, the Buckeyes have sold about 90,000 tickets, but there are roughly 10,000 tickets remaining if you're interested in coming. They wanted to remind fans that face masks are not required if you are outdoors or if you're at your seat in the lower bowl. There are a few areas in which masks will be required, so you have to bring one with you to the stadium. You need to wear a mask if you're going into an elevator, if you're going into a restroom, if you're in the press box, in enclosed spaces in particular are the spots that folks need to wear masks. They've also asked us to let you know that if you would like to wear a mask, you are more than welcome to do so, but that it is certainly not required if you're outside sitting at your seat. Beyond that, there's some new exciting things that the Buckeyes are teasing about the fan experience and are encouraging fans to keep an open mind with some of the things they've got coming there. The best way to handle all of your ticketing and parking this year is through the official Ohio State mobile app. So be sure to download that. It's the easiest way to handle your tickets. You can listen to the radio call during the game. There's some other features within the app. So use the Ohio State Buckeyes official app for your game day experience. And maybe, in my opinion, perhaps the biggest thing to note, everything is cashless this year. They are moving entirely to cashless operations. That includes parking. So credit cards are accepted everywhere, but just know ahead of time that if you bring cash, that's going to work. You need to have a backup plan for that. So those are just a couple of fan notes up off the top that I think are important to make sure we relay to you. Now to some of the football stuff. We heard from Ryan Day today, and you'll have a chance to watch his press conference as well as Coach Coombs and Chris Olave and Cody Simon. We'll have those up on our YouTube channel. But I think maybe the biggest takeaway that I had was his evaluation of the secondary. It was a very real answer. I didn't think it was coach speak. He was very impressed with the way those guys competed, and he said there were definitely some good moments where he felt like it was a promising young group. But also said that after watching the tape and evaluating, they've got to improve. And he specifically said there are some plays that they wanted back, some learning to do, but it has to happen or else, quote, we won't win this week. And he knows that this Oregon team coming in is a really, really good team. They're super hungry, and they've got a lot of speed and athleticism on the offensive side of the ball, as Oregon often does. So the Buckeyes secondary is definitely a big point of emphasis during practice this week. Ryan Day was also asked about his relationship with former Oregon coach Chip Kelly, who of course is, to Ryan Day, less former Oregon coach and more personal friend and great mentor. But because the Buckeyes and the Ducks don't play all that often, and it was kind of a natural storyline leading into the week, Ryan Day spoke quite a bit about his friendship with Chip Kelly, the influence he's had on him. He said their wives are great friends. They have homes that are actually across the street from each other that they vacation at in the summertime. He said he talked to him yesterday, and that there's quite a bit of mentorship that still goes on, even though they are they certainly see each other as equals. So you get the impression that Ryan Day and Chip Kelly have a great relationship. Ryan was specifically asked if he ever thought about going out to Oregon to coach with him. He said that they had those conversations and they really thought hard about it. Coach Day didn't want to move his young family across the country. Chip Kelly told him that was something he loved about him, that he loved his family so much and didn't want to go through something like that. And don't worry, we'll coach together someday. And then it happened a few years later in San Francisco anyway. So sometimes it's funny how the world works. So I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about that relationship as the week builds up because of all the things Chip Kelly did to bring that Oregon program to kind of where it is now. Of course, Mario Cristobal's done a really good job there in the meantime. Beyond him, I think the biggest player takeaway were a couple of really impressive comments about Tommy Eichenberg, who was perhaps the starting linebacker that no one knew would be the starter. I think everybody kind of anticipated Taraja Mitchell as a captain would be a starter. And then as it turned out, there was plenty of rotation at that position throughout the course of the game. But Tommy Eichenberg got the start, and Ryan Day said in his press conference last week when he was asked which linebackers you'll see, he said Tommy's name first, and then he named everybody else. But he didn't straight out say that Tommy was going to be a starter. I thought Eichenberg played really well, and both Kerry Coombs and Tommy's position mate, Cody Simon, raved about him. Thought a couple of quotes in particular were notable. Kerry Coombs said, quote, "He is a physical kid for a physical game." That's the kind of toughness you want in a linebacker for sure. And Coach Coombs also went on to talk about how Eichenberg is really intelligent and knows the defense well and feels like he gets the guys lined up the way they need to be lined up. And they've got a lot of trust and faith in him. And then his position mate, Cody Simon, had come out and said, look, he is the ultimate leader. He's one of my main guys on the team. His mentality, everything about him is something I want to emulate. Our defensive unit isn't as good as it is without Tommy. I try to stick around him whenever I can. I think together we can do whatever we want in this league. That's what Cody Simon had to say about his teammate Tommy Eichenberg. So keep your eye on Eichenberg and his growth. Who knows who's going to play on any given week, but it certainly sounds like this is a guy the Buckeyes think they can really build the center of the defense around. And then beyond that, we had a chance to talk to Chris Olave, and by now, if you're a diehard Buckeye fan, you certainly know Chris Olave's recruiting story. By no stretch of the imagination was he a highly recruited, highly touted target in high school football across the country. Ryan Day and company found him when they were looking at another player, and obviously it's worked out great. But being a West Coast kid, Chris was pretty open in saying I was a diehard Oregon fan when he was younger. He essentially alluded to that was his dream school. Now, Oregon never offered him. In fact, he didn't get any offers from really anybody until the Buckeyes offered him. And then everybody started chasing him after the fact, and he said at that point he did have a few conversations with Oregon, but his mind was pretty much set, his heart was pretty much set on coming here to Columbus, and thankfully I think for the Buckeyes that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it? So Chris Olave having a chance to compete against the team that he grew up really, really rooting for, and he was asked about the 2015 College Football Playoff National Title game, the last time these two programs played each other. And he was asked if, point blank, were you rooting for Oregon? And he smiled, and he laughed, and he hesitated, and finally said, I was young. So he certainly has an allegiance to Buckeye Nation. He's such an easy, likable guy. But, you can't take the passion away from where you were as a child, and I think maybe a lot of us have stories like that along the way, too. Maybe teams we used to love and then, end up covering or working or being around somewhere else. So a fun thing that I'm quite sure Chris Olave will be asked about on national media. I can't imagine that that's going to be a storyline that isn't at least somewhat teased or something along the way here this weekend. So I thought that was a fun little takeaway today as well. We got a lot of coverage coming, including some comments Ohio State head coach Ryan Day made about this Oregon team, what his expectations are for trying to guard Kayvon Thibodeau. The Buckeyes are expecting and preparing that he'll play. If Kayvon is not available, then they'll adjust. But you have to be able to at least prepare for one of, if not the best defensive lineman in the country. Of course, the Buckeyes know that with as hard as they go in practice, they think they've got a pretty good chance to get ready for something like that. So we'll certainly have questions and comments on the website about that. And I think you'll hear a little bit more about what Kerry Coombs' evaluation was in his first game as a defensive coordinator, How did it go when he didn't have to oversee a specific position group? Find out more about what Coach Coombs had to say there as well. I'm Brendan Gulick from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. This is the Buckeye Report on Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. We'll see you real soon, and please follow all of our social media channels for the latest on Ohio State.